If you're currently going through a job loss or you've recently lost your job, I made this video for you in hopes of somehow helping you. I've been there myself. I know how hard it was. It was top 3 most challenging times of my life, at least for me. And I just wanted to share my learnings, what I went through myself, what I did right, what other people told me and poured into me with advice, tactics, and wisdom. I wanted to make this video in hopes of sharing to make your journey a little bit better in all of this. If you're new to this channel, my name is Jody. I'm glad you're here. I don't have tape on me, just have tape on me. I just had 2 disc cervical spine surgery 9 days ago, and I'm recovering very well. My mobility is good, and I never thought I would have spine surgery at all, not me, but I did, and here we are. So here's to the road to recovery. But if you've recently heard that you are losing your job or you've lost your job, I want to share a few things with you that helped me get through this, and I think perhaps it'll help you as well. So let's jump in. Number 1, I want you to realize, and now I'm talking about here, not somebody that has only had a job for a month, or someone that could care less about their job, or someone that quit their job on their own because it wasn't any good. So those perhaps don't have the same impact, the emotion, the hardships of what I'm talking about here. So what I'm talking about is someone who didn't want to lose their job, or someone who's been in their job, their career for a long time, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, decades. Someone who made a lot of money. That's who I'm talking to. So if that's you, stick around. Here we go. Number 1, I want you to realize that a job loss, it's a lot like a death. In fact, let's just call it a death. It's the death of what you've known for so long. It's the death or the end of a whole lot of habits, discipline, perhaps for years or even decades. We're creatures of habit, and so all of a sudden, all that just gets pushed to the side and gone. Also, when I refer to a job as a death, there's a loss that occurs. A loss of not only those habits, but money. Oftentimes, at least if you're in a situation like I was in, so I worked for Shell, and for 17 years total, really good job, fortunate, blessed, leadership position, and I moved states from Houston to the New Orleans area. New job, new discipline, new people. Oil did what it did, and then it went way down, and they had layoffs. I was the new guy, so I had naturally gotten the lower rating, the lowest rating probably on the team, and I didn't make the cut. And that just blew me away because I had been with Shell for over a decade. I had moved my family, my house, my life for this company. I thought so many loved me, the GMs, the VPs, and probably most or a lot of them did, but a lot of them got caught up in the layoff as well. And the next thing you know, they're telling me I'm losing my job. I was blown away. My wife was blown away. That was like devastating news to us. It was like an, oh crap, now what? Oh my gosh, how will I ever replace this kind of income, this kind of money? It was brutal. It knocked the wind out of us. Now, ultimately, timing is not exact here, but it might have been 2 weeks later. I ended up in another part of Shell, but I had to go through that time, that 2 weeks of, oh my gosh, I'm losing my job. What am I going to do? What's my family going to think? I'm letting my boys down. Of course, the mind does what the mind does, and I should know because I've done so much mindful work, inner work for so long, and I still went there. Oh my gosh, I've let my boys down. How am I going to pay for college one day? Man, we're going to have to move back to Houston. Now the move is not even paid for. Oh my gosh, that's $50,000 or whatever it was, whatever number I made up. Will I ever find another job? Will I ever find the job like this one that pays this much money? All these things were going through my mind, and they weren't best case scenario. All that, by the way, it all worked out. That's why I'm sitting here sharing with you, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. But in all of that, what I later figured out was this job. So I picked up a job at another place called Shell Norco, which is a chemical plant refinery. And it wasn't the right job for me, to be honest with you. I wasn't the right person for that job. I'm blessed, I'm grateful, I'm glad they gave me that job. I lasted another 5 years. I stayed with Shell, and then I left on my own when they offered a severance package. Based on, I was just too far outside of my purpose, my passion, my path. I was just too far off from all of that. But overall, it was all a blessing and a great opportunity. It wasn't easy, though. All right, so back to that time where I got the message, the news that I was losing my job. I understood somewhere in there that it was the death which requires a mourning. And what I now understand looking back is, if we're doing something, pretty much anything that we love, we're going to lose at some time in our lives. Like, nothing is permanent and nothing is forever. Think about any and everything we love. If it lives, it's going to die. That's just a reality of life. And a job is really kind of the same way. It's probably not going to last forever, and it's especially not going to last forever the way that it is. There's just too much change going on in this world. And by the way, when I hear people say, other people say, no one likes change, we're scared of change, I don't disagree with that. But what I would ask you to do is replace the word change with loss. It's not change I'm scared of. It's loss of what is. It's loss of what I know. It's loss of what I love. That's what I'm usually scared of. So I like to just replace the word change with loss. I had this insight that a loss of a job, it is a death, and that death requires a mourning, and that mourning is going to bring us through all sorts of emotions. And I went through those emotions in that 2 or so weeks. And by the way, I've been able to work with and coach several other people who have gone through the exact same thing, and I tell them exactly what they're doing or what they're going to do. And I say, look, you're going to go through mixed emotions. You're going to go from mad to sad, perhaps some glad in there, but back to mad, and then a little bit of sad, and then a whole lot of mad again. Here's what's going on in there. Ego, this operating system that runs us, which is really mostly our false self, it's doing what it's designed to do. It's out there to protect, to radar, to hone us into danger, and it senses danger. Danger, you've lost a job. Danger, you don't have X amount of money coming in, or you will not if you're losing your job. And that ego is trying to protect the heart from sadness. That's the root cause of all this. So there is anger. There is also fear going on. Fear of what? Fear of loss. Loss of what? Loss of money, loss of opportunity, loss of promotions, loss of relationships, loss of habit, loss of what you know, loss of the known. So I say all that to say to realize, just put it in awareness that if you're going through this, or if you've recently been through this, there is a death, there is a mourning. But guess what's on the other side of a death and a mourning? A rebirth. You have to let go of something. You can't hold something, grasp and clench, and expect to get something new. This could and probably will ultimately be a blessing for you when you stop holding. Well, even if it's ripped out of your hands and you don't want to let go, when it's gone, now you're open. You're open to receive what is new. As long as you're this, you can't receive what's new. So every death, mourning, every death, every loss is going to open up space for what's new, the rebirth. And that rebirth will be pretty good. Number 2, I want you to understand, if you're anything like me or the men and women that I've talked to, if you're human, you will probably lose your mojo in all of this. So why would one lose their mojo, their confidence, their game? Because think about it, you've lost what you've known for so long, or you're losing it, potentially, at least for now. Loss of money, loss of relationships, loss of habits, loss of just what you're used to. It's all gone or going to go away, at least temporarily. With that, oftentimes comes loss of mojo. A man or woman gets hit in the gut with a layoff, a job loss. It is a punch. it's like one can drive the wrong way on a one-way. I know, I've done that. Like the cortisol response in me was so high that I just wasn't myself. That loss of mojo, I just want you again to put that in awareness. Be aware of that. If you're married, talk to your spouse. Let them know what you're going through. Let them know and let them remind you that this is all temporary. But here's what I want you to also hear. One doesn't want to stay in a loss of mojo state, lack of confidence, not feeling competent, not feeling worthy, and even getting into woe is me, etc. If you stay there too long, other things in your life can start slipping and can go really bad, even really fast, believe it or not. There's nothing like a job loss to test a marriage. Why would it test a marriage? Well, you've probably got new financial conversations, if not struggles. You've got all this fear in the air, which is not a healthy consciousness at all. It's not love or joy or peace or progress typically. No, it's fear, it's sadness, it's anger, it's victim, it's why me, it's all that stuff. And then if you're a man out there, and I do a lot of work with men, we've got our Thumos School for Men, our weekends in our community, I can tell you, if you stay in that loss of mojo, this woe is me, if you stay in that dark hole, that rut for too long, you're taking out, you're making withdrawals out of your marriage account, specifically attractiveness. A man without mojo, without confidence, especially for too long, temporarily it's okay. Your wife has probably got your back, hopefully for a long time. But let's hope that's not needed. Because when you walk around and you make all those withdrawals, you don't have your mojo, your confidence, your step, you're not out there hustling, you're not shaking hands, you're not working the room, you're not being you, whatever that you is. She sees that, she feels that, all of that. And over time, that takes its toll on her. And it may not even take much time. So I just want you to realize you don't want to stay in a dark place for too long, because the other relationships, or I should just say relationships, especially that of your spouse, can go sideways. And if you're a woman out there who's lost your mojo in all this, that man, if he's anything like me or the men that I work with, he wants to help and he wants to fix, he wants to make it better, he wants to take your pain away, and he gets angry of those that hurt you. Someone hurt you, he gets angry, very angry, understandably. He's a man. He can't fix or change that. So what would I say? Do your best to get your mojo back. Do it for your man, your spouse, but especially do it for yourself. And we'll help you do that. So there's sort of two thoughts. That's enough of that. Let's go into what one can do. What can you do if you've lost your job, or you're losing your job, or you've just gone through this? Number one, do the journey within, what I call the inner work. Who am I really? What do I stand for? What do I really want with this time that I have left? The average American lifespan is only 75 years of age. That's all. Maybe you'll live to 90. We don't know. I don't want to bet on that. I'm 53. If the average American lifespan, and I get there, let's say I get there at 75, that's not a lot of time. At what point, this is what I had to ask myself, or got to ask myself, about the age of 50, I said, at what point have I earned the right to stop achieving, accomplishing, climbing, and striving? At what point can I just do whatever job and smile and enjoy it? Not a got to do, but a get to do. Not from a place of force, but from a place of power. From a place of, when can I just do something that just lights me up? And maybe that's even making a lot less money. So like, at what age will you allow yourself that right there? For me, that was at the age of 50. At least that's what I told myself. And I did pretty well overall. But ask yourself those questions. Who are you? What do you really want? What lights you up? What is your purpose in life? Like what can only you do the way that you do it? A lot of times that purpose, especially outer purpose, these things end in INGs. What would light you up? Is it painting? Is it teaching, coaching, counseling, problem solving, engineering, selling, marketing, creating? They don't have to be INGs, but oftentimes outer purpose related, the what to do for the next stage of your life could end in ING. What would light you up in all of that? What would others say if you reach out to others? If you reach out to 9 friends, and I did this, by the way, with journal in hand, and I presented them a couple of options. Should I open a gym? Should I go back into safety and be a manager somewhere? Should I start a sort of a coaching business and try to help more people? When you talk to 9 people and they all 9 tell you the same thing, which they did, either all 9 of them are crazy or I need to listen to something. That's exactly what happened to me. So consider getting out your journal. If I journal what you're going through, because you're going to look back at that one day and you're going to smile. You're going to go, look what I was going through, and you're going to see it with detail because you'll put some details in that journal, and you're going to say, wow, look at the way that God had my back in all of this. And we can never see it when we're in it. It's never clear. God doesn't show it to us. But we always can see it when we look back, especially when we've journaled it. That's going to be your story if you lean in and you do this right. So reach out to other people, do some journaling, journal in hand, and reach out to other people. Journal what they tell you, because you're going to want to know those details and come back and reflect on what they're telling you. By the way, when you get this counsel, make sure it's from people that you trust their opinion. And what's even harder to see, and what I later realized, it wasn't until just recently I realized this, you just got to make sure you're not so far ahead of them that they're jealous of you. So, and even if they are jealous of you, they may not even know they're jealous of you. It's just this nasty side effect of being human being that we tend to get. So I've heard it says everyone wants you to do well as long as you don't do better than they do. And there's a hint of truth to that sometimes. But I wouldn't even focus too much on that. I would seek counsel of good people with high consciousness, high energy, good energy, that care about you. And I think you'll be picked up by it, and you'll get some tactics, strategies, and even some wisdom, some insight. That's one. Number 2, I love the Birkman. I had an executive coach when I was at Shell doing contractor safety. We became pretty good friends, and he just graciously did the Birkman on me, for me, to me. And it was 300 or so questions, took me 30 minutes, and I got after it. And we sat down for lunch and he went over this Birkman Method with me and essentially coached me through the report. Birkman blew me away. I couldn't believe that a self-assessment tool, it's more than that, it's a unbelievable human diagnostic self-assessment tool with unbelievable accuracy, precision, insight. How can this tool know so much about me? Birkman showed me things about me that I didn't even know yet. I had not uncovered. In all I never stopped doing the inner work, the weekends, the meetings with other, especially men, to go deep, go inside, the mindfulness. I never stopped any of that. And the more I've learned, the more I've gone back to Birkman and I go, I don't know how this thing can be so accurate. So Birkman's out there. I deliver it, but there are plenty of people that can do the Birkman on you for you. You can go to the Birkman.com and check it out. Find a facilitator, a coach, someone do the Birkman for you. But here's what I like about it. Birkman will pinpoint your interest, what lights you up. This is very important if you're going back into the job search or starting a business. What are your interests? That's huge. Birkman shows what is our usual, and I won't get into the details, but usual is just the way we show up, our norm. how other people see us. Birkman also shows us our needs, what we need from other people, what we need in a work environment, business environment, vocation. By the way, when those needs aren't met, Birkman shows us our stressors. So in other words, when we're stressed, we may tend to withdraw, play small, be forceful, become impatient. In other words, we call this shadow, Birkman calls it stressors. It's all great. It's beautiful and insightful. And they also have, so there's loads of reports. I could probably run 40 reports on somebody right now that's in my database. All for like one, it's a one-time questionnaire and cost. But there's an occupational report. And it's unbelievably accurate. I look at Birkman, and Birkman, like it's not, I'm like a 99% green community, and, you know, and I am to be teaching, counseling, coaching all day long. I can do that all day and never get tired. Maybe for you it's thinking, it's analyzing, maybe, so maybe it's working in a lab or an engineering environment. Birkman's got an occupation report that it'll blow you away. So that's something to consider. Here's another one to maybe give some thought. Maybe it's time for you to go do a retreat. Maybe it's time for you to go do that meditation retreat in Costa Rica. If not now, when, by the way? Maybe it's time for you to go do a men's weekend. If you're a man out there, some kind of, like, we've got a weekend experience. It's not a retreat because there's work involved. We ask the questions: who are you? What makes you tick? Who do you serve? How are you showing up? What's your purpose in life? And we help these men get real clear on their purpose, their path, their passion, help get them reconnected, clarity. But what retreat or experience or, you know, thing, oftentimes out in nature with other good qualified people, can you go do potentially to go find yourself? Because that's really what you're trying to do in all this, is find out once again who you truly are. You want to unlearn a lot of what's been learned at this point. You want to ask yourself, knowing that we're all going to die, that's a given. Really the question is, who's willing to live? Who is really willing to live all out with what little time, whatever time that we have left? That's what I think a retreat or an experience can help us do. My first weekend was with a crazy weekend called the Warrior Weekend, New Warrior Training Experience. It blew me away. Like, I had read the Bible cover to cover. I'd read 60 books. I was on my way. I was working for Shell. I was doing all these great things. I'd been through hardships in life, no doubt about it. And I was working my way up. I was achieving and progressing. I went on one weekend experience. It changed my life. No amount of books that I could have read would have ever equaled one weekend experience. Why is that? It probably sounds crazy to you. I think it's because it was like 3D. It was like 3D being, I was in nature with other men, with processes, doing the inner work, hugging other men at the right times. It was the doing, it was the experiencing. It wasn't just reading. It wasn't that passive. It was an experience. It's kind of like if you had good Christmas mornings and Santa Claus, go tell someone, go read about it. Go read about it. And then go experience it. What's the difference? If you've never had a kid, go read about it, right? And then have a kid, have your first child, right? That's an experience. So maybe go find you an experience, a weekend, a retreat, an experience. Here's another one. Prayer, meditation, fasting. You know, anything that can get you back aligned and in tune with mind, body, spirit, heart. Slowing down, being still. A lot of us have done so many years of doing, but we forgot the being piece. We're human beings, and yet we're always doing. The being isn't baked into our description of humankind, human beings. And here we are doing. Go, 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 go. It's like we have all this yang and no yin. And when we have all yang and no yin, we tend to get very much out of balance. Stress, anxiety, fear, worry, all stuff that come at us from the ego. Well, that's not all bad. In fact, I wouldn't want life without it, but we also want it balanced. I prefer the word centered. I want to be centered. I want to have some yin with some yang. I want to have some doing with some being. And I want to continue to make progress, but I want to do it from a place of peace, clear on my purpose, and aligned with my path in order to unlock my potential. So consider that. Here's another one. This is a good time for you, if you're going through this, to maybe kind of assess where you are in some of the key categories in life. In Thumos, my coaching community, we have what we call 8 F's. Let me just kind of maybe mention a few of these to you, and I can give you the resources for all 8 F's if you want that. But if you've just lost your job and you're doing the inner work and you're asking yourself, what do you want next? What's your purpose? What's most important? Maybe it's a good time to look at where you are with your faith and your spirituality. If you've got a soul, perhaps you believe like I do, that soul never dies. Never dies. What have you done up till now to feed that soul? How is your spiritual practice? How's your faith? How's your stillness? What does that look like? Another one is fitness. I've worked with and been around so many C-suite guys and gals, and that's great, man. Plenty of F of finances, so the money's been good. But what about the fitness? Like, if we don't have our health, what do we really have? I've heard it said, if a man thinks he's got a lot of problems, give him a health problem, he's got one problem. I can tell you for a fact in my life, with this neck right here and this surgery, that was not only years and decades even of discomfort with this right here. This was 36 weeks of bad sleep. That's how long it's been. To this date, I haven't had really good sleep. I haven't even had good sleep in 36 weeks. That has taken its toll. That takes me back to the mojo, and beyond mojo, keeping it high is how do you keep the train on the rails when you're not sleeping? When one is, in my case, reaching for coffee. And I backed way off, and this is just a little bit right here. Not sleeping, reaching for coffee. No wonder I've got ringing in my head right now, tinnitus. Cortisol's probably high. I can't prove that. I could with some blood work. But I've got ringing in my head, tinnitus, probably due to high cortisol, I'm guessing, and I'll figure that out. But my point is, health issues take their toll. And maybe I'm lucky for just going through this. Other people aren't so lucky. They get a diagnosis of cancer, stage 4, whatever it may be. So that's another F. This may be a good time for you to look at that F of your fitness and your health. And what about the F of family? What about these relationships that are out there, especially the ones with your family? A lot of folks have been so busy working for the man and or working on their business or whatever it may be, and finances perhaps look really good, but what about those relationships? Are they not directly correlated to our happiness in life? So I say all this to say that this is a really good time to kind of step back and look at like what's most important. There are YouTubes out there that I've watched that have just been tremendously good, that essentially, it's a young man, and he's interviewing 70, 80, 90, even 100-year-olds, and asking them, like, if you could do things over, what would you do different? What's the most important thing about living a good life, quality life? They speak of health, they speak of relationships. Most of them say their job would not have been so important. All right, so here's another one for you. Focus on reconnecting, like rebuilding, keeping and rebuilding relationships that are out there. So connect with good people, reach out, have outreach, work your community, maybe enhance your community, build it, rebuild it, reach out. Now, when I'm talking community, I'm talking about communities that give you energy, that provide value, not those that steal or drain from you. You don't have any extra energy right now if you're going through this to give. So reach out to a good community, get poured into, connect with that community, or at least find you a handful of people, maybe it's only one or two, to connect with. Deep, connected conversations. If you need to get into your heart and share with somebody, if they're the right person, they can hold that space for you. They'll probably cry with you, whatever that looks like. If you're a man out there and you need to get out into the woods with some other men, you need to yell and cuss and do what you need to do. Do what you need to do to get that out of you. Hopefully you can even get to tears. The strongest men that I know, when they really do the work, they get into tears. And that's a whole nother level of toxins released and emotions getting out of the body. It's a wonderful thing. And when they release it, they tend to take home a whole lot less back to the wives. Go figure. And seek counsel from that community, those good friends. That's where you're reaching out to other people. But get the counsel. Get poured into. When you hear from other people that this is temporary, this too shall pass. And by the way, if they tell you they know exactly what you're going through, they probably don't, but they're well-meaning. So just do your best to embrace and be grateful for what they're telling you. But listen to what they have to say that resonates with you. Listen to truth when it's coming from other people. Oftentimes I hear from God through other people. Go figure. So seek that counsel. I'll give you two more. Take action. Once you've kind of done sort of the inner work and the inner journey, and by the way, in that inner work and that inner journey, I did mention nature and going out with other people and looking within and asking the deeper questions. I have tried to go out alone, like Texas Hill Country or somewhere like that. It doesn't matter where, and you can do this as well, and just sit with it. What's the learning? What do you want from me, God? What's next? I'm not against that, but I'm here to tell you that's very hard. It's hard to sit still alone in nature when we're scared to death because we don't have a job and we don't know what's next. It's hard to really sit still and hear from God when we have money worries. How are we going to pay for our next month's mortgage or whatever bills are coming up? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying for me and for a handful of people that I've talked to, it was very difficult to try to sit still. I went into nature with the family. We took a vacation, and I did my best to be present for the family. But if I'm honest, I had about 80% background worry going on, and maybe 20%, maybe 10% presence and connection. The other 90% worry, low-lying anxiety, what's next? Because I had a problem that I hadn't yet solved. I needed a way to take care of the family, and I didn't have an answer to that. So I found that was very difficult for me to be alone or even with my family and truly be present and still. I found I did it better with other qualified people that could pour into me and help me purposely sit in silence, kind of through processes and agendas in the case of like a weekend experience. So take that for what it's worth. The next one, so two more. Take action. At some point, figure out a direction through your inner work, through your outer counsel and feedback. Take some action. This action ought to be aligned with your purpose in life. What are you designed to do? What lights you up? You're going to have that if you've talked to other people, if you've done Birkman, if you've done a weekend or retreat, or you're going to know what it is that gives you energy and lights you up. And I've done videos on this, finding your purpose in life. For example, what would you do if you had all the money in the world? If you hit the lotto, what would you do? That's a huge purpose, passion clue. What do others call you for now? As far as help, counsel, etc. What do you do in your spare time now? What can you start now that you want to do until you're 80? Because I happen to think this idea of retiring at 60, 65, watching Jerry Springer, playing bingo, hoping to live another 10 years, I think and hoping our money lasts, I think that's a horrible idea that our parents did, our grandparents did. I think it's horrible. I think the idea of, or the thought of having plenty of money and having options, doing what we love, using our God-given gifts, our calling, our talents, what I'm calling our big purpose, doing that until I'm 80 or 85, die doing work that I love, and I love it so much I want to be a master at it, so much of a master I get into flow state doing it. Let's go find that for you, my friend. Those are the happiest people that I know. Take action. This is your path towards your purpose, which will include passion. Oftentimes, it's just a path. Start the business. Do the paintings and put up a website. Create the community on school or Mighty Network for something that you know something about where you can help other people. Whatever you're doing or creating or selling, you're helping other people. This is huge when it comes to your purpose, path, passion. But take action, get started. That path that you take, today's business that you start, probably will not be your very last business. The next job that you take may not be your last job. It might be, but it may not be. That's all okay. Even if you start a new business, you most likely will start making less money. That's okay. It's just a path. It's not permanent. It's not forever. If you take the next job and you make half the salary, that's okay. If you can pay your bills, meet new people, and smile. What if you make half the money, pay your bills, make new people, smile, in other words, having fun, and you know that's temporary? Can you live like that? Most people can. That's most people's worst case scenario, whether it's consulting, whether it's a normal 9 to 5, or whatever it may be. Take action. And lastly, from that action, assess and adjust as needed. From time to time, step back. Is the action you're taking leading you deeper into your big purpose? How's your passion around it? Do the energy test. It's what you're doing on a day-to-day. I'm not saying you're going to love everything you do. You won't. But you ought to love a lot of what you do, because how much time do you have left here? Take some time, step back, assess, check in with others that care about you, that aren't jealous, that have good feedback for you. Join a community, a school, a Mighty Network. These are like-minded people. Oftentimes, these don't even cost any money. There are other engineers out there in these communities that are doing what you do. There's other artists out there, and coaches and consultants and teachers. They're all forming these communities. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. They're all going through similar struggles. They all feel like fakes and imposters. They're all scared to do their first video, I promise you. And they're all going to say the same thing. Hit record. You're going to suck. Push through the suck. Get after it. Assess and then adjust as needed. Is this working? What one thing might I stop? What one thing might I start? What one thing needs to be tweaked? That's what I wanted to share. I hope in some way that this helps you. What I want to end with, what I want to leave you with is, if you're feeling some version of scared, stuck, worried, angry, sad, it's all normal. It's not pleasant. It's not easy. I'm not pretending it is, but it's all normal. It's all part of the process. Keep pushing through. Find yourself. Find your mojo. Find what's next. Find what's better, whether it's more money, and it might be, or not. Don't stop. I'm living proof. There is life for me after Shell. I'm a consultant. I'm a coach. I'm making just as much money or close to. I've been perfectly okay. I've been more in mission, more passionate, more aligned with my purpose. There's life after the job that you know. So hope that helps. If you need, feel free to leave a comment, leave a like. I'd appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. If you've got questions, put that question down there. I'll answer it. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I'm grateful that this channel has grown so much. I was hoping to get to 100 subscribers one day, and here we are. Thank you.